Who is Demetrius Cheney Perkins and what is my mission? Man, that is a loaded one in itself. It's probably taken me 45 years to be able to answer that question. I would say that I'm a transformation specialist, and a transformation specialist that helps guide people through trauma to rediscover what a healthy lifestyle looks like, to have a healthy relationship with food. And I do that through the art of nutrition and cognitive behavioral counseling that all connects to holding people accountable for fulfilling their purpose on earth and doing it as healthy as they possibly can. My journey. Most people, if they've known me at all and have followed my journey at all, then you know I started at 203 pounds. And really, people thought the journey began with losing the weight. Absolutely not. The more I self-reflected, this actually started probably at about 5 years old. At 5 years old, I was the oldest, the firstborn, the only grandchild for several years. So for anybody who's the firstborn or the oldest, the pressure to get it right was undeniable. The pressure to be perfect, undeniable. And my grandmother had this unique ability to take the pressure off. She had this unique ability to just stick a little pin and just cause me to relax. How did she do that? She was an amazing cook. So anytime I felt the pressure, if I didn't do something right, I didn't get it right, whether that was at school or at home, she would feed me. She would identify what my favorite food was. She would recognize if I was feeling sad or whatever, and it was just, what do you want to eat? So early on, I learned, wow, I might feel pressure, but when grandma feeds me, it all goes away. And I kind of, even after I started school, I felt pretty special because my grandmother worked in the kitchen at school. So whenever there was pressure at school, and let me tell you, there was always pressure at school. I was the tallest girl in the class. I'm 5'9", but for many years, I was taller than all the boys, very thin. I had asthma, so I wasn't really athletic, and I was very dark. So those things, people just targeted me. I was bullied a lot. I learned that food was the answer for any negative emotion I was feeling, any negative emotion. And so it went from the pressure from school to probably between the ages of 7 to 12, childhood sexual abuse. And again, because I felt the pressure to be perfect, I never really told my parents about it until I was much older. But I felt like I didn't need them because food made it better. Even though it was temporary, it made it better. So I just noticed kind of this pattern. And again, I didn't see that pattern as a kid. As an adult, and going back and reflecting on how this journey really started, my unhealthy relationship with food started as a childhood coping mechanism to deal with life. And ultimately, that kind of worked as a child because your metabolism is high. I wasn't gaining any weight. I was still very, very small. But to continue to hold on to that kind of coping mechanism as an adult with a slower metabolism, it didn't really dawn on me that I had an emotional eating issue until it became a weight issue. Now I'm 35 years old, 203 pounds, and still having food as a coping mechanism. So that's when I really began to recognize that it was an issue that had to be addressed. It had to manifest as being a weight issue. And I often see that with the clients I service now. Honestly, I think telling the full story of my journey now is because I'm aware of it. The pandemic really did a lot to help me put my story in focus. I had a lot of time to self-reflect on who I was, how I got here, and what my purpose is moving forward. And so I had a lot of time to peel back and see, like, how did this become an issue? How did weight become an issue? It was not a thyroid issue. It was not everything I blamed it on. And the pandemic and being isolated and being really forced to look at my life, I recognize, you know what? I've always dealt with anger, sadness, stress, depression. I've always used food as that coping mechanism. So in looking at that, it then made me focus on the clients I serve, the people I serve. And I thought, wow, all this time I've spent, and while we have addressed it a little bit, I spent the most of the time addressing the behavior and not the trauma. And just, in fact, doing this interview, the entire format changed for me when I prayed a prayer and I asked God, I said, God, what do you want out of this interview? And when he said to me, I want you to let the people see you. I knew exactly what that meant. I knew that I had to discuss the pressure of being the firstborn. I knew that I had to discuss being bullied as a child. I knew that I had to discuss childhood sexual abuse. And I knew that people needed to know all of these things. All of this trauma can be directly connected to choices for food, because I get people who assume they lack discipline, and when really you just haven't healed the trauma. So my purpose, it goes back to I think the original purpose. My purpose is to help people achieve and fulfill their purpose as much as they possibly can, as fit as they possibly can. And it's just impossible to do it and not deal with past trauma. I would say start there, but ultimately know that you're not alone and that there is a way to make better choices. The first thing I would say for someone who's concerned that they would be an emotional eater is that you're not alone. That's very important. You're not alone. And more than likely, the emotional eating started as a child, as a childhood coping mechanism. Kids don't know how to express when they're feeling sad or angry or depressed even. They just look for the easiest way to feel better. And oftentimes it's food. So I would say you're not alone. It's likely a childhood coping mechanism where you didn't have a healthier option, a healthier choice. And ultimately, there is help to make better choices. You don't have to be an emotional eater. There is help. It's not because you lack discipline, you lack healthier coping strategies. And if you're unaware with whether it is or not, how do I know I'm eating because I'm not feeling good emotionally, or I'm eating because my body is actually hungry? That can be where you focus initially, just because you haven't identified what those triggers are. But usually, if it's biological hunger, it comes on gradually. You may start to have a little bit of a stomach ache. Your energy level may drop. Your head may hurt just a little bit. Those are biological signs that you're hungry. Emotional hunger, very different. Emotional hunger is really spontaneous. It's really quick because in that moment, your body or your mind is experiencing either a memory or some kind of current stressor that's saying, I need to ignore this. I need to feel better right now. So where's the cookie? Where's the cake? Where's the pie? So it's often this immediate urge to eat without any biological evidence that you're hungry. Head's not hurting, stomach's not growling, just this urge to eat. Having a coach for, 6, 7 years, coaches take the guesswork out of what you need to do to make healthier choices, but it also frees you up to focus on the real emotional triggers. It frees you up to identify trauma. You don't have to focus on what you should or shouldn't eat. You really do get to dig in to the whys. I think my journey has equipped me to serve other people because I am the other people. I am the emotional eater. I am the person who's been sexually abused as a child. I am the girl who was bullied. I am the firstborn with all the pressure to get it right. I guess you could call it the perfectionist. I am that person. And I come with a wealth of experience. As a master's of science in counseling psychology, I've seen firsthand how your thought process really does impact the behaviors or your behavior choices. And as a nutrition coach, I see how the food also impacts the behaviors. So ultimately, putting all those things together puts one in the best situation to work with me. If those are your issues, you're in good company.